Welcome to our 5 on 5. Pleased to be joined today by the Executive Director of the OLCC, Steve Marks. Steve, I know you're a busy man, especially while you're here visiting Southern Oregon. Before we get to the reason you're here, I want to ask you about HB House Bill 3000. It was just signed into law this week by Governor Brown. What does it mean for your agency?
Well, it's very exciting for our agency. I think more exciting for the state and region. It really combines some ideas of cannabis management. So it looks at better defining intoxicants for cannabis so we can prohibit some CBD products that we're getting too loaded with THC that shouldn't have been in the market, to get testing to keep those away from minors. It deals with new enforcement tools, both for Oregon Department of Agriculture hemp registered grows, where we can get out and do testing to see if they're using the program as guides to grow marijuana. So we're really looking for commercial marijuana there, not the fine line between is it hemp or marijuana, but really is it over 5% or higher THC marijuana. New provisions for law enforcement themselves. It's Class A misdemeanor to grow cannabis outside of a state program. So before, marijuana was the only one that was illegal. So you couldn't get a presumption because it was legal to grow hemp even outside of the Department of Agriculture's program. And then it sets up a task force for our future to look at how we're going to manage all these issues, and particularly those items for cannabis for human consumption. So that'll be a tremendously important work. Importantly, attached to all that, grants that have gone to the counties for enforcement, marijuana enforcement, have doubled. So roughly over the next 2 years, it'll go from $3 million to $6 million available to counties, and the bulk of that money came to Jackson and Josephine County last time. Expect it to be the same this year.
Okay, I know you said before we started recording the interview, you were amazed at how many grows there are in our region. What is your advice for law enforcement as they try and deal with these? This law will help them in effect?
Yeah, so they had, you'd have to get probable cause to get a warrant just to test to see if that hemp was really marijuana on grows that weren't in a state program. So now they can more easily get a warrant out there if it's a cannabis grow, not a marijuana grow, not a hemp grow, but a cannabis grow. It's Class A misdemeanor. They can go out, they can check what's there, they can find out. And that was a source of frustration for citizens, for law enforcement, for public officials, because we sort of had this ring around the rosy. Was it an OLCC grow? Was it a medical grow? Was it a ODA hemp grow? Whose was it? How do you get there? So this will help not only coordinate cutting through those questions, but then getting on the grows that aren't in a state program and aren't part of a personal home grow.
All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll have much more with Steve in a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to our 5 on 5. Again, we're here with OLCC Executive Director Steve Marks. Steve, we're talking about marijuana and all these big changes that you guys have going on this summer. I know your organization has been adding staff to deal with legal cannabis. What is the breakdown right now, off the cuff, you may not know this, percentage-wise, between your alcohol staff and your cannabis staff?
I can't tell you off the cuff, but I would guess that our marijuana side is actually overtaking our alcohol side, because we also do the medical enforcement for medical programs and coordinate with OHA on that. So we have a lot of cannabis staff. I think the most important thing for this region to know is we have plenty of staff to be able to do the field testing of the hemp grows that we're going to be conducting on the behalf of ODA this summer. So we will make sure that we get out there. Our intention is to do every registered grow in the region. So hopefully we'll meet that commitment. We'll be on it, through the summer and through the grow cycle.
Obviously, so much has changed for your organization. I understand you're adding cannabis to I believe the first C in OLCC, is that right?
Yeah, it'll be the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission, a government efficiency there. It's still OLCC, and we don't have to change things rapidly, so we won't spend a bunch of fee money from our licensees on making changes.
Very good. And are you guys still looking to add staff? I mean, because obviously marijuana has changed, literally the title, as well as so much more for your organization in the last few years. Are you guys still growing, pardon the pun?
We are still growing very rapidly. I'd say, from my experience, we have been the most rapid growing agency in my experience around government, which goes back to 1985. We've just been growing from cycle to cycle, and we've added about 26 staff in this upcoming budget.
I do have to ask you an alcohol question since
Yeah.
you're here. A friend in the station told me this, and I thought it might make a good question for you. They recently bought a bottle of, I believe it was vodka in California. They said it was $22. The same exact bottle, same size, $46 in Oregon. Why is that?
So we do a lot of alcohol studies on the pricing between California. So if you're right on the border, you might find those price differences. In California, it's an open system. They can discount a particular bottle. They can do sales. We don't do that because we have uniform pricing throughout our system. But if you look at pricing on primary products, top 100, and you look into inner California, our prices are very, very similar. They do have they have a lower tax rate. We have a markup because ours is sales based, but theirs is much lower because they don't depend on the revenue for state services like Oregon does. So we have a second highest, margin that we take for revenue in the country.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time. We appreciate it while you're in town.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Stay with us. We'll be right back.